with my hairs. I got weird hairs today. All right.
Can you send this to my mom?
Yeah.
She's not going to know how to do it.
Hey, we're live. Welcome to Conscious Mind Tripping with me, Audrey Newmont, and I have a special guest tonight. This is Lola Mormino, and I am so excited to be talking with her. But before we get to talking, I just wanted to give some announcements. We have some fun stuff that is coming up, namely, next Tuesday night, we have Nick and Alexandra, and they will be channeling Merlin and Golden Arrow. And if you have never experienced that, I just have to say it is amazing. So if you ever have watched channeling, there's all these people out there that do channeling. There's Paul Selig, there's Esther Hicks, and just some other very famous people. And they basically, people step out and the divine steps in, however that looks. And you're getting information that comes from I call it a more divine space. So, hey there, Mr. Newmont. Good to have you join us. It's Lola's with me in the house. So that's coming up. We also have some other classes, groups, workshops that are coming up that you can see on newmontcenter.net. And you go to the calendar page and there's all kinds of, we're continuously adding to it. So Nick's got his sentient healing class coming up. I've got a visioning and mind mapping workshop coming up. Jennifer, hello. It's good to have you join us. You are going to love this one tonight because it's right up your alley. Say it again. Hey, where did you? Oh, hey, you know what, Mary Lee? You are the first person to officially join in on the text here on YouTube.
I'm
Yay!
impressed that she knew that.
Nice to have you join us. So, I've said the announcements, and now I want to get into tonight's topic because I'm ridiculously excited to have Lola here. I'm beyond excited. You know, as a therapist, there are so many people that I work with, and it's a real intimate sort of thing. And we get into, the details of people's lives. I do, Parv. Nice to see you. So with Lola, it has been one of the most fulfilling moments for me as a therapist to be working with her. And so I'm going to take you on a little journey, as it were. But I want to start by saying who she is at this moment. Lola is 18, just turned 19 actually, last week. Happy birthday again. And she has here in Westlake Village her own, it's called Lola's House, and it's her own training facility. She's got this large room where they actually do training with weights and everything. And then she has another room where they do massage. They also do post-training body work, to work out the kinks and whatnot. She's got her little office in there. And she's got, 4 trainers working for her and a massage person. So I want to just say, when I first met Lola, she wanted to be a trainer. And as we were working together, she started training some people in the park. And one of the people that she trained in the park is sitting over here. You can pop your little head in here and say hi.
Hello.
No, they can't see you in this one. Come here, closer. This is my daughter, Serena.
Hello.
So she started training Serena in the park. And I also, when I'm working with people, I give them business information. I give them tips of the trade and different things to do. So I had told her to give Serena some cards that would be for a free session. And so Serena starts passing them out to all of her friends. And before you know it, Lola is just building up this huge clientele and having to go around to different places. And one thing led to another. And it's like, I'm pretty sure, and she said, it's time for me to have my own place, and I'm looking, and one thing led to another. And now I'm telling you, she has this amazing training center. And on top of it, she's got an article in the paper. People are interviewing you. You're turning into quite the celebrity around here. So that's a part of what's going on now. But what we're going to do is give you a bit of her story and where she came from and why she's so inspiring for me and why I think her story is just so empowering. So with that being said, I'd like to bring you in to talk and tell people a little bit about your story of what happened when you were born.
Well, I was born with a 2.5 pound tumor attached to my tailbone. It was cancerous, and obviously that was, like I said, the day I was born. During that procedure, when they removed that tumor, the IV that was in my vein slipped out and or in my wrist, it slipped out of my vein and went through my bloodstream, and that gave me like 3-degree burns from my wrist to the top of my forearm. But then it healed to be a smaller scar, which is nice. But that's how I came out, or came into this world. I've struggled with health basically my whole life, ranging from
Let's move closer to the microphone. Is that better, Parv? Can we hear us okay? All right, so and then talk a little bit louder.
So then after that all took place, I've just struggled with health my whole life, ranging from hip surgery to being paralyzed for 3 weeks. From age 7 to age 15, I had vasovagal, which basically allowed me to pass out at any given moment. And one of the biggest ones was actually 2018, when my body just basically shut down on me from September 16th to December 27th, I believe. And just every day, about 3 times a day, ranging from 8 to 20 minutes, my body just like shut down. Everything just gave up basically. And then, yeah, so it's just been a lot of battles and obstacles throughout my life, but now I have a different outlook on them. Thanks to Audrey.
Well, she has a different outlook on them, and you have a different way of living in the life. So I talked with your father, and he told me that he was getting so frustrated with the doctors, and he just was looking for anything that would help, because I think you say it in a way where it's like it is what it was, but I know that for your family it was very scary, and there were some times where they really thought that you weren't going to make it, and that's a really hard thing for a family to go through. So when your father hit that point in 2018, he started looking around for alternative solutions, because it seemed like the doctors just weren't getting it done, having things be fixed. And he came across my buddy that I still miss, Jeff Sherman. So you started going to Jeff Sherman, and in the process of going to him, started getting healthier and healthier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he put you on different supplements, and he showed you. Did he put you on any of the machines there?
The one where he presses onto one spot
Mm-hmm.
on your thumb.
All right, so he was testing you. Jeff had a way of testing the system with the, I want to say like a biometric sort of thing. And that's a lot of how he would figure out, the different things that were going on with all of us, because Jeff helped me with my health greatly as well. But he didn't put you on those other machines with anybody. All right, so I want you to really be clear. A lot of what Jeff did to fix the actual symptoms in the body were with supplements, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just totally with supplements. Yep. So in the process of all of that, Jeff told Mary Lee, who is on here, that she might want to come and have a conversation with me. So Mary Lee started coming and talking with me, and we started looking at all of this. And in the process, she also sent Lola in here. And I'm going to say something that might be a little uncomfortable, but it's like, whenever I'm working with people, it's a lot of times they want to be here, and sometimes it's like, oh God, I don't want to go. And both of you have had those moments where it's like, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to go. And one of the reasons I'm so impressed with you is you came anyway, and I really get that it was like, I just don't want to look at this stuff. I just don't want to go there anymore. So when you started coming, there were a whole bunch of different belief systems that we had to look at. So before I go into those, when I tell you all, and I'll probably say this every single show, hey there, Glow, it's good to see you. I love it that you show up here. So the thing that I want to say, and this is across the board for everyone, whether it's your health, your success, your abundance, your happiness, or just being in love, all of it, the controller of all of those things in our lives is the belief systems. Everything is the belief systems. And then on top, those buttons, intention, attention, perception, those are the three rulers. So when you came, you had some very strong belief systems, and understandably, when you have had such a life where it has been one thing after another, where you have not been in control and you felt, kind of at the effect of your body and not being able to, own your own health, that's a very strong belief system in how you operate. So over the period of time, as we're working together, we start looking at those belief systems and start understanding more about you. And I wanted to get into a couple of those belief systems that we were talking about earlier, and having you share kind of what that looked like for you.
Um, well, I think every time that in the past when I was younger, like I opened up about how I was feeling with health or mentally because of my health, I just felt like it always blew up into a bigger deal than I was expecting because I was so unhealthy. Um, so that kind of taught me to just not talk about how I feel at all. Um, that was a big belief system that I had. I think another one with anything I did, I didn't fully believe that I was capable of doing whatever I was planning on doing. Um, I used to play ice hockey for 9 years and like I had a good time. A, I was never healthy playing, but B, I feel that in the back of my head I was always doubting myself and never like fully believed that I could play as good as I wanted to. Um, and that just I think is like more of a pessimistic way of looking at things. And that's I was pretty optimistic with feeling like I was able to overcome whatever health most of the time whatever health issues that I was struggling with. But there were also moments where I felt like I was looking at life pretty negatively, which is not obviously the way that I wanted to live. Um, yeah, I think those were the biggest belief systems I had, and with everything that I've been through or I went through, that's kind of how I perceived my mentality and my just myself overall to be. Definitely.
So that part about not being able to talk. Come in here with me. Come here. That part about not being able to talk was a big one. And I do have a lovely, brave, strong woman here with me tonight. Yeah, and I want to tell a lot of this story because it's just so important. That part about not being able to talk. So, as a little girl, she comes in and she's got this heavy burden, and it is a lot. And she can tell that her parents are like, dealing. She's got an older sister that's dealing. And there's a part of it where you've been so strong in your life that she reached a point where she'd always be like, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And she's not talking about her actual feelings, because on a level you got to push those things aside. I don't want to deal with them. I'm just going to keep powering through. I'm just going to be strong, and I'm just going to do this thing. So that that's one of those things that turns into, I don't have a voice. I'm going to push these things down, and I'm not going to communicate because I'll just work through it. I'll just be strong. And as I've talked about many, many times, I'll show it yet again in our belief systems. It's all right in through here. I can't talk about it, so I'll suppress it. I'm not going to work on it because I'm just going to let it go and I'm going to move on with what I need to do. And Parv is asking, what made you negative and how or what changed your attitude?
I don't think I was ever, well, I mean, I've had many negative moments of thoughts about myself or whatever I was dealing with, but it wasn't necessarily that I was overall like super negative because I was pretty um, like determined to achieve or get through whatever I was going through. But I think once I healed in 2018 from all of my health issues, I think 2019 I became extremely negative and just was feeling super confused at how to live my life healthy because I've never lived like that before. So then I got pretty depressed and down on myself and negative and everything. And I think what I did to change that was stay consistent with coming to Audrey um, and just being patient with myself and understanding that like everything that took place happened for a reason and just trusting the process and understanding I'm not going to have like every day isn't going to be like a perfect day. Like I'm going to have to work through things and um, learn things and everything like that. So, but I think the biggest thing that changed my attitude was definitely staying consistent coming here. So,
Well, it was staying consistent and coming here, and it was also it's really important that people understand when you are in your life, and for somebody like Lola, her life was a lot of going to the hospital, and it's like, oh no, she's sick, and what is this thing, and how do we fix it, and then here's the next thing, and there's this life of you are the identified literally patient. So in the family, it's like there's a lot of energy around Lola, and this is your life, this is like how you operate. And so it's your homeostasis. It's a very big part of the belief system. I am, just somebody that has struggled with my health for my whole entire life. And then when you change it, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I'm not a sick person anymore. I'm not unhealthy. Actually, I'm very healthy and I'm getting healthier every day. Then it's like you have to redefine yourself. You have to redefine who you are and how you operate. And that is a process to do. And you've been doing it extremely well. And that is, I think, if I were to say that it's super important for people to get certain things about when you're going to a therapist that's like me, it's not that we just bring you in and I'm a hypnotherapist and I'm just going to snap my fingers. I'm going to hypnotize you. It's actually quite the opposite. I teach you how to hypnotize yourself and how to go about the business, because it is a business of changing those belief systems systematically one by one. So there's a part of it where I'm a sick person. All right. So now I'm not anymore. I'm healthy. And what does healthy mean? And how do I, continue to be in this healthy body in a new way and own myself as you have. And one of the ways I think that's been super powerful for you is creating your business, and being able to use that and bring your attention over there and really own you as an entrepreneur, right? I think that's been one of the big things for you in moving through this so much more gracefully.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes when we don't have that thing that we can move into, it's like, all right, so I'm healthy now, but what does that mean? A lot of people don't have that definition of who am I now in this healthy body. Lola, I'm in this healthy body and I'm going to be a trainer. I'm going to help other people get their bodies healthier and do that process, right? So been a big part of it for you. This other part about not believing in yourself that we wrote this before. Can you explain that a little bit more detail?
As far as
That part where we were just talking about not believing in yourself, and it's like when you were looking at becoming a trainer and you were looking at all of those things and going from not really having the confidence to really now owning your confidence and not only having the gym yourself but bringing in all these people that believe in you as well. How did you make that shift? How did that kind of click for you?
I think taking a step back and like looking at what I've already accomplished and using that to my advantage. I feel that before I never was present. I always was worried about like the future, and I just wanted to be where I wanted to be so bad. And then I realized that like I'm never necessarily going to be where I want to be because I'm always going to be setting new goals. Um, so just being able to like take a minute and appreciate and celebrate what I have done so far, that really helped. And just using like I've been tough on myself my whole life, but in the past I never really used it to my advantage. I think that now I'm tough on myself. Thank you. That is awesome. I think I'm hard on myself now, but in a way that can benefit me. So it keeps me pushing, but I'm also not doing it to where I'm like running myself ragged, um, because it's never good enough. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. You said one part of this that I wrote down this word. One thing that I find with a lot of people, there's certain things that are across the board with clients that I keep seeing and I keep seeing. Oh, I'll do that in just a second, Parv. I'll introduce her again and explain who she is after I make this point. So there's certain things that across the board with my clients I see, and one of them is that thing where she said about being present. A lot of people, a lot of people remember the car analogy. The car is the body, the driver is the soul. It's an energy powered car. So, what I see a lot of the time is people will be driving, and as they're driving, they're imagining something in the future. Like, my car's going to break down, my body can break down. And oh no, what if I get sick again? What if it's the next time is the time? What if it's something that disables me? People have a tendency, instead of being in the moment right now, they go into imagining whatever the thing could be. And sometimes it's actually attached to looking in the rear view mirror and remembering what happened back here. So instead of being present and saying, wait a minute, I've learned all these new things. I've learned this new way of living. I'm using new supplements. I'm owning my health. I am this strong body, the strong mind, the strong emotional heart, and I got this thing. People have a tendency to, let me see, people have a tendency to not be present with that and be worrying about the future. And this is one of those things that is, I would say, up in the top most disempowering things that people do, because it's all creative. And I've talked about this on previous shows. So, what we're thinking and what we're feeling, we're literally creating a path ahead of us. It goes into quantum physics where that is a possibility, and we put attention on it, and that can actually happen. In fact, we have had that with recently, we're going to get into a story of what that looked like. So it's super important to really be present in the car. And if you are going to imagine the future, you're imagining what you did do, which was creating my own gym and doing these things and having fun and all these things that you're actually in the moment doing. So it's super important to catch yourself when you start what I call having the car go down the hill to hell and you start imagining something that you don't want. Much, much better to put the brakes on. I don't need to imagine something that's not true, something that's not happening. I'm going to be present right now and own my ability to do whatever the thing is that is my intention. Let's see what your father said here. Since it's such a big topic these days in elite athletes like Simon or Simone Bowles, is that how you pronounce her name?
That was fun.
Biles. I haven't even watched the news about what happened with her. Can you touch upon what stress of any source can do physically, even if you are not aware of it? Actually, yes. And Jennifer said, Audrey had to calm me down when she first met me. I was totally in the future and stuck. Yes. And you know what, Jennifer? You've been owning it in a big way, and kudos to you. Jennifer has her own story of what happened with her that was a very, very big deal. So, in answer to your question, Carmen, upon what stress she emotionally broke down. Hold on. Hi. I'm still getting used to all of this. All right. Stress of any source can do physically, even if you are not aware of it. So here's what happens. And she walked.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's a big deal from this Olympian here. So that's a really good point that you've made, Carmen. And that's super important because when we're talking about the car analogy, and actually we're going to talk about something that happened with Lola recently. So she had been very, very healthy for a long time, and there were two events that came up recently, right? And one of them, it was a little bit more of a mild one. There was something that was going on. I don't like to get into the stories of things, but it was something that was going on, and on a level, you weren't owning your word, right? So, what part of your body got sick? And it was like, she's sick. And it's like, oh no, what is this thing? And they didn't come to me for a while. And then she finally came in. And it was like, we worked through that. And it was like, in the session, it was all came out. And who you were coming into the session versus who you left being was a whole different thing. So it's something that's trapped in the body and we're not communicating. So it goes into the physical symptoms of it. I have a huge book that's over there behind us. It's called Metaphysical Anatomy. I use it all the time with my clients. And when there's something we're not verbalizing, almost guaranteed there's going to be something that's going to be sick within here. So I'm going to give you a quick minute of this. When we are thinking and we're feeling, our heart is producing electromagnetic energy. So when we're talking about stress, that is what I call the fear feelings. So there's stress, there's anxiety, there's worry, there's all these feelings that go on. And when we're feeling that feeling, the heart is putting out a signal to the rest of the body. It's an electromagnetic, energetic vibration that every one of our 50 trillion cells listens to. So when we have that kind of feeling that goes on, the heart talks to the brain starts sending chemicals like too much adrenaline, too much cortisol, stress hormones, and it starts to create dis-ease within the body. So definitely in your life, there's been a lot of it where you have suppressed a lot of those emotions, right? And then the body can't handle it. So, can we talk about that second story that happened and why that's so incredibly huge? You had a moment where, let's just say, like all of us on a holiday, we don't eat as well as we want to be eating. Do you want to tell the story? Do you want me to?
Oh, you can. It's just funny.
Well, we all do that. But she had been eating so amazingly well that her body, she woke up in the middle of the night and her body went, I don't think so. This is not working. So she got sick. And in the middle of it, she started getting anxious. And what was the other thing that you got dizzy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was throwing up, dizzy, like feeling like I was gonna pass out, all that stuff.
And there was a moment of anxiety, which would be normal, especially when you have had a childhood like that. So the anxiety comes up, and because she's Superwoman, what does she do? I'm going to push that anxiety down. I don't want to deal with it. This just has to go away. So when we have anxiety, again, 50 trillion cells are listening. 50 trillion cells are going, wait a minute. And if you think about the car analogy, we've now put the car into park. I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to put the car into park. but the foot is on the gas. So on the inside, the whole body is revving, everything is going, but we put a lid on it. So we're not aware of it. It's an unconscious. So then instead of just experiencing it and just understanding, oh, this is nothing, unfortunately, and it would be normal, she goes into this is something. And it turned into a something for quite a few days, right? And there was this whole looking at it and then figuring out what is this? What's wrong here? Long story short, they end up coming in, her and her mom. Hi, Mary Lee. They come in, and I'm telling you, the look on your face when you came in, she was like one of those moments where I really don't want to be here at all. I'm really angry. I'm frustrated. I'm unhappy, just plain and simple. So we start looking at it and we start understanding it. And what happened? You tell this part.
I just became more aware that I was still like bottling things up, even though I thought I was doing a lot better than in the past, which I was to a certain extent, but clearly not good enough. So after just opening up about literally everything that I might have been possibly feeling and bringing that to the surface and then figuring out ways to like work through those feelings or accept those feelings, I just became much more aware to the fact that I was still suppressing everything because I didn't want to cause any problems or stress or anything like that on other people, when in reality it was doing a lot of damage to myself. So that was the biggest thing that I realized.
So it was a huge realization. She's very, what's the word I'm looking for? You're very kind of like, that's just what it is. But in that moment where you understood it and you understood that it would be very normal for you to have suppressed that, it would have been very normal for all of that stuff to have happened. And there was a part in the session where you, I think, let that out in a very big way. And it was amazing because you came in feeling crappy. I mean, you physically felt horrible. And I'm watching her face as she came in. And by the time she was leaving, you were like a whole nother person. You were just literally, it was like who you came in as was like a far cry from who you left at. So it's really important to understand once we let these things go, once we are able to change that dynamic and change the belief system around it and have that understanding, then it's like we've taken this thing, and sometimes people hold it in their stomach, this thing. Sometimes people hold it in their heart. People hold it in their shoulders, all different places in their body. They hold on to whatever the thing is. You were able to let it go and have that massive understanding, and you're never going to have to deal with that again. It's like once you have worked through it, and it's important to get, and somebody just asked me this the other day. They said, oh, well, we've tried to do that before and it didn't work. Well, it's important to understand, like when you came in the first time, I got my hand here. This is like the ego, and this is the belief system, and this is all the stuff. You know where I'm going with this one. And what happens is we learn and we come away from the fear, we come away from the stuff, and we're happier and things are better and we're healthier. We're all those things that we've been wanting to be. And then we have what I call a slapback. So in the slapbacks that you had, it was like, I'm healthier, things are looking good. Uh-oh, we had this moment at the gym where you got dizzy. There's a slapback. So we have to take time and just step back and say, what was going on? What's going on with possibly your eating or your drinking? What's going on emotionally? What's going on mentally? Are you getting enough sleep? What would cause you to feel dizzy? And so then we stretch it back out again. We learn, we have that understanding. And then like the thing with the eating, it's like there's that slap back again, or not the eating, the other one with the not verbalizing. That was another slap back. And then she goes further and she gets even more understanding. And so this last one that she had, that was really big. And there were so many things in it that we could see, and not just your things, other things that were going on in the environment around you. That was a huge slap back. But now, and it really feels like this to me, and of course, there will always be something that comes up in our life, but I think that you cut the cord and you will never have that particular thing again. And that's why it's important to understand that this is a process. So if you come away from the thing that's the issue, whatever that thing is, and then you find yourself back up against it again, it's kind of the thing of the onion. You're peeling back these layers and you're understanding yourself better. You're changing those belief systems, you're changing the habits, you're creating a stronger consciousness of who you are and how you operate in the world. It's like when I had that huge slapback of my kidney stone and I did that process around it. That was the time for me, that was about my worth, that I cut the cord. So when you're working through these things, it's really important to understand most of the time there's a process to it of getting better and going further. And then finally, you're cutting that thing, it's a done deal. And Jennifer, you said, how can I stop suppressing like I don't even know I'm doing until I throw up? There's a part of it where you start listening to your body, right? And you start, like, she's a trainer and she works with the whole body on the outside and the muscles and the things like that. And so, in talking, we've said, you train your body really well. There's a part of it where you learn to train your mind. You start to learn to train your heart. And by training it, you're paying attention to it, you're being conscious of it. So when you are doing that kind of training, you feel, and it always goes back to the fear feelings, right? When you're anxious, when you're angry, when you're frustrated, worried, even when you're judgmental, any of those things, that's your signal. Stop the car. Literally, stop what you're doing and step back and say, why would I be feeling this? What's going on with me? Being present, being aware, and then recognizing what the ego is saying, what's going on in that part of you that's caught up in the illusion, that's caught up in the stuff. We all have stuff. I mean, we just do. So, do you have any other, if you were to be telling her how can she do that, what are some of the best ways that you've done it?
I think being more aware. I think being more aware of like how my body's feeling. Like when I felt that I was suppressing. When I felt that I was suppressing anything, I think some of the first things that I've realized have been like my heart was beating pretty fast, or I started feeling dizzy or more on edge. Whenever I felt those things, I took a minute and really tried to figure out what it could possibly be, or am I just feeling dizzy? Usually 95% of the time it's much deeper than I'm just feeling dizzy. Um, so I think taking a minute to really look at how I'm responding to something that could possibly be affecting me, and then speaking about it, like opening up to someone, whoever you might feel comfortable like opening up to. I think that's what helps me the most. Even if it's hard at the beginning, it definitely is worth it in the end. Even by just talking about it, you feel like a weight is totally lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, yeah. And the other part of it is, and I think this is a super important part, and I'm just going to say, you have a family that is very close. They love you, and you all have like a really excellent relationship. So it's really great that you guys have all been growing and learning together, and just really honoring where each other is at, and just super supportive. So there's many of us that don't have a family like that. You're actually very blessed. I love your family. They're really awesome. Mary Lee, who's in YouTube. Um, so I think it's super important to, if you don't have a family like that, that you bring people into your life that are supportive and you allow yourself to lean in sometimes to other people. I think that in life, that is one of the most important things. We need to have that sense of community and that ability to, lean in and go for support where it can be. You have the ability to come here, but you also have your family. You've got some really good friends. You've got people around you. So I think it's important to foster those relationships and to keep a balance in the relationship as well, because one of the things that also you all have done is really own constructive communication. So like everything else, there is that constructive communication where you're able to, you know let people know, this is where I'm at, this is not working, or this, I would like to do this differently, or whatever. But there's another part of it too where, and I'm curious to ask you this because I don't think we've ever even really discussed it. Sometimes when people are sick, they, in the balance, because there's balance in our life. So there's a balance on what we do in a day to day business, there's balance on just having fun, there's balance of everything. And sometimes when we're angry, sometimes when we're sick, we can get into a balance where there's too much talk about the sick. Like I've had people come in and they'll literally just tell me a lot of, this isn't working and this isn't working and this isn't working. And they're also telling other people that, like on a regular basis. And a lot of their time, their attention, the balance of their life is on, here's the problem. So, along with everything, when you're bringing in people that are supportive, it's super important to keep that balance of having fun in the conversation and being interested in new things and bringing in a balance of maybe talking about, stuff of the day. Because I think sometimes when people are the identified patient, the balance, and have you had that in your life where it was too much talk around? So, can you talk about that a little bit
It
and how
got
you guys overcame that? Because I know you have.
yeah, it got almost frustrating just because without me even realizing, I felt that that was all that really defined me. But that goes for anything. Like I feel that if you talk about one specific thing constantly over and over, whether that's your job or your hobby or something like health, I just feel like it can get a bit too much to, like, you have to have a little bit more variety just so you don't drive yourself crazy, like talking about the same exact thing over and over. Um, I think coming here helped me and my family realize that, and we became more aware to the fact that I am more than what has happened to me. Um, and I'm not that anymore either. Like, definitely in those moments of struggling with my health, it was basically all that. And it was constantly, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Or how are you feeling? Um, but now that I've healed and now that I've been here, I think we've all become more aware to the fact that I'm definitely more than just sick, or I was more than just sick, and now I'm not that at all. I'm a very healthy person. Um, and I think I have been healthy most of my life if I would have opened up a little bit more. I mean, some of the things you can't really, like hip surgery is not meant to, like, it's not anything like that. But some of the health issues that I've struggled with definitely have shown that it's my mental health as well. It's not just being so physical. Um, but yeah, I think that coming here really helped with just understanding that I'm that, and understanding that I have a lot more to offer than just talking about one specific thing that doesn't define me.
Right, right. That's an enormous thing. It's for so many people, they get caught up in this, what has defined them. Like I've had people show up many times, they'll be like, well, you don't understand, this is who I am. And it's like, not really. It's who you think you are. It's the belief system, but it's not who you are. And then we have to begin an investigation of, who are you? and who do you want to be? Who, what interests you, what motivates you, what excites you. Like Lola, you were working at Mamba and you had all these people around you that were trainers and all that. And there was a part of you that was like, wow, I could do that. I could be that. And I think that you're probably still maybe a little surprised at what you created in such a short period of time.
Yes, I forget that. I just opened my gym April 5th, so I forget sometimes that that was literally a couple months ago, and I'm doing pretty well. So have I still need to catch myself and take a step back and really appreciate and be proud of all that I've done, because I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I forget sometimes. But um, it is pretty crazy how smoothly and quick things have all taken place.
I wish that more people could have an understanding of that. I mean, it's very interesting to have somebody who is, so very young. And like I said before, she came in and we started discussing business. So, there's a part of it where she's figuring out what she wants to do. You don't want to go to a college and do all that stuff. She had it very clear in her mind. This is something that excites me. It motivates me. And to be clear, you're really good at it. Serena's looking fabulous, as are all your other clients. So it's important to really be able to own that vision. When I say that the belief system is the controller, when you change that belief system around your health, you change the belief system around so many aspects of you, like being hard on yourself, and being more compassionate and having more understanding, and changing to be having a more optimistic way of looking at things, and just the different things that you've done, all of those things combined, set with the strong intention. I mean, you had an intention, and this is what I'm doing. And she started it, worked one foot in front of the other, started building up more clients. And then before you know it, she's like, Audrey, I think I'm going to open up my own, studio. And it's like, wow. So we start talking about that. And before you know it, it's like, boom, she got the ball rolling. And it was just such an amazing thing. And it's really important for people to get, when you have your thought attached to the feeling, and there's that enthusiasm behind it, and there is that confidence, that changing of the belief system of who you are, and then you're taking those actions that match all of that, it's almost guaranteed. It might take a little time, but it's important. Even in that taking a time, I've had people be like, Audrey, it's just not happening. What do you mean it's not happening? I'm seeing this and I'm seeing this. This is what's going on. Well, it's taking too long. Oh, so the belief then, because that's the controller, this takes too long. So it's almost like you've thrown out an anchor and you can't be moving forward. So it's really important to, and this was, I think, Lola, one of the big things that you wanted to talk about at the end with all of this, to be conscious. So talk a little bit about that.
Um, I've been pretty unaware my whole life. Like, not a bad thing, because I just didn't know the difference.
Not bad at all.
But yeah, I definitely lived in the more subconscious mindset, um, basically my whole life. I think that this year especially, I've like completely flipped from that side of living to now more conscious and aware living. And I think that's one of the most important things that somebody could improve or work on in their life, just because when you have that strength as far as knowing that you're living in the conscious state of mind, you can literally do anything that you want. I mean, everything comes with that, from confidence to learn, being open to learning, or being patient, like all of those things that I've definitely struggled with. um, and now that I've become more aware, I think that something that also comes with that has been thinking before I react, which also helps with patience. My confidence, I'm still working on that. It's gotten like extremely like a night and day difference, but the fact that I'm more aware, I catch myself and I work on not going down that path as far as feeling like I have a low self-esteem or self-conscious. Um, but yeah, I think that is that has definitely been the biggest improvement that I've seen in myself, and that just I'm super proud of that because that's not something necessarily easy to do, and I've just realized like how more observant I am about my surroundings, how I take care of myself a lot more now that I'm so aware of what is good for me and what's not. Um, and if that's like the one thing I could tell people is just keep working on that part of life that I feel that's going to get you the furthest, definitely, because it's getting me pretty far. So, and I'm like a baby, so so I think it's working well.
You're very conscious, baby. And I think another part of this is been owning your word. You know, that ability to not suppress things and to be able to say what's on your mind. You know, and if you've got something that's hurting or something that you're angry about or sad about or whatever, you know, that ability to verbalize it and not hold it down. I think that's been a huge moment for you as well.
Yeah, I definitely have realized even from last year at this time, like there were people that I never said two words about how I was truly feeling, or if they had done something, I never said anything about it. I just kept acting like, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal. But now, what seems to help, or what seems to get me the furthest with relationships with family, friends, loved one, like whoever, I think what's in myself, what's gotten me the furthest is if there's something that bothers me, just say it then, so that you don't let it turn into a huge problem that never actually meant to take place in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really exciting for me, just because um, I've seen it help. I've seen it definitely help me with my relationships and with myself, because I'm not letting it replay in my head over and over and over. And I'm also not hurting the other person, because in the long run, it's going to hurt them if I didn't say anything in the first place. So that's definitely something that I'm proud of, is being able to speak up like before it gets worse,
Mm-hmm.
because I definitely did that a lot. And um, it's a lot less scary now that I've done it more. And when it just happens, like if someone says something to me, I'm like, oh, next time, I don't know if I like would appreciate if you said something like that or whatever, and whatever the case might be, that's done and over. Like it's done after that. If you let it play on for months and months, um, that's that's the biggest problem that you're gonna have, and that's how it's gonna grow to be something that you don't want it to be. So um, that's also a big thing that I would say to keep doing or working on, because being conscious and owning your word is like it feels very good.
It does, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you a question that we didn't talk about. You are in the 19-year-old age group, and you are unique in your age group. I mean, let's just say I don't know many kids that are your age that are doing some of the stuff that you are doing. And you see a lot of things that your age group is doing. If you were to look at other kids that are your age, let's just say anywhere from like 15 to 25, that's kind of in that range. And you know a lot of what goes on in that your generation. If you were to give them any kind of constructive feedback, you know, what would that be?
I think do what you feel that you want to do. I think that there's so many um, pressuring moments in like in that age group, just because you want to do either what's cool or, I mean, I 2019, I definitely fell into that trap of feeling like everyone else is doing it, so I might as well do it myself too, or I wanted to fit in, or I was feeling so sad that I wanted to do something that seemed to be working for other people. Um, but I think if you can try to stay consistent with doing things that you personally want to do, not because someone else is telling you to do it or because you see someone else doing it, that is my biggest piece of advice, because I did quite a few things. I left my high school and did basically online school because that's what I wanted to do, and I felt that that would benefit me the most, and it worked out perfectly. So I think, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I would say. Just do what you want to do.
I like that. I like that. But do what you want to do, knowing that it's going to be moving you in the direction of your greatest dreams. Some of your
Yes.
age, it's like,
Be careful.
do what you want to do. Well, I want to smoke pot all day.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to work
Don't do that.
because there are a lot of kids your age that are doing just that. So, with the 5 minutes that we have left, I just wanted to say I work with a fair amount of, in my time, I've worked with a fair amount of people that are in your age group. And there is that part of really owning what you want to do. And then there's another part of it where I think that, and I'm pretty sure that you do this. It's like that thing I was talking about with balance. I see a lot of kids that get sucked into imbalance on where they're at. So they're not being present in the car. They're kind of present in their phones. They're present in gaming. They're not being present with life in the reality of life. So I think it's a really important moment for this younger generation because I've seen a lot of social anxiety because they're not present. Have you seen that with? I know you've gone out with different people who it's hard to have a conversation with them. We've had some interesting moments of conversation around that. So I think that it's super important to look at someone like Lola and understand that she is just like everyone else and she's just made different decisions, different choices because of all the things that you've been learning. So it's important to get out of the phone and create a balance on what it is that you do want to do, right? I think that's a huge one for your generation.
Yeah. Not be so invested in social media because it is all fake.
It is a lot of fake, and it's fascinating to me. It's like they follow people, and it's like they're more interested in someone else's life than their own life. Have you seen that? And I'm like, you spend all that time, you don't even know that person. You know, you could spend the same amount of time doing like what you're doing and building your business. Like if you had been living in social media, you never would have created what you just created. You wouldn't have had the time for it. So keeping that balance, if you want to go into social media, you want to do whatever, making sure that it's not all the time and that you're actually being present with people in person and you're meeting people, you know, it's sharing energy and not just living in here. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if somebody wanted to come and have sessions with you, how would they get a hold of you?
You can follow my Instagram, which is Lola.Mormino. I don't know if you want me to type it there or anything.
No, I'm going to put that on afterwards. I'll put it in the comments.
Okay. Yeah, that also my website, LolaMorminoFitness.com. You can message me there too. My gym page on Instagram is Lola__house. And you can also call my gym number. It's 805-907-6661. That's how you can contact me.
And I think there's going to be a lot of people. You can tell her my story too. That's why she's my spirit animal. I will, Jennifer. I'll tell her your story. And Gloria, one of my favorite sayings is, get what you want. Go get it. Yes. So with that being said, thank you so much. You're just an inspiration on so many levels.
Thank you.
You are mighty. Exactly. Um, Remember that next Tuesday night we are going to be having Golden Arrow and Merlin channeling. So you can be in person here. I think there's a few seats left, or you can join us on Zoom. I'll be sharing the links. You can go to my Facebook page, or you can go to newmontcenter.net to the calendar page, And we will have that information on there as well. And your dad is saying kudos, kudos, kudos. So Carmen, by the way, was on Nick's show, I believe, last week while I was out of town. And Carmen, you and Nick were amazing together. Carmen is a real estate agent here in the Westlake area. And he is, I mean, you talk about some integrity, character, and morals. He's it. And he gets it done. You're amazing at what you do, Carmen. And we definitely appreciate you very, very much. And with that being said, it's 8 o'clock. Thank you so very much for joining us here. And please share. And if you're looking on YouTube, subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends, please. And have a fabulous, fabulous week. Right? Yay. Love you very much. Bye. Hey, we're live. Welcome to Conscious Mind.